Hi, my name is Olivier Girardot. I'm a music composer and a sound designer. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about forest atmospheres. I was recently hired to create a series of forest soundscapes for tabletop and role-playing games such as the very famous Dungeons and Dragons. To talk to you about my forest sound design, here I am in an actual forest. Not really, it probably didn't fool you anyway. This is a green screen behind me. I was thinking of upgrading my videos with visual effects and better editing, and I thought a green screen could be nice. Right now, I'm just testing it with an old piece of green cloth that I found in the bottom of a drawer. Hopefully it looks good on your screens, because from here it doesn't look that impressive. But I'm really excited about this because the possibilities are infinite. I could be in the mountains, or next to a volcano, in a creepy dungeon, or even in Star Wars. Anyway, back to the forest atmospheres. I was asked to create all sorts of fantasy or even magical forests, which was a lot of fun, but I also had to provide my clients with some very classical, calm and simple forest sounds. And this turned out not to be as easy as it sounds. But let's dive right into it. For this project, I had to create all sorts of realistic sounds such as this calm and peaceful forest either by day or by night. And also in various weather conditions like a storm. On the more fantasy part, here are a few examples of the forest environments I was required to create. A haunted forest, a magical or enchanted forest, a forest in the middle of a dragonland, or a frozen forest, for example. Now, it might sound easy to create a classical forest on a sunny day by just getting out there in the woods with your equipment and start recording for half an hour. But actually, it's much more complicated than that. First of all, most of the time there's nothing happening. Like no wind at all, no birds, nothing. And you come back with a completely flat, uninteresting recording. But most of the time, it's the opposite. There is too much noise. A dog barking in the background, people walking by, a highway not far, a tractor, airplanes, and so on. So here's what I did. So here is my work session for my basic forest atmosphere, but as you can see, it's not that basic. It's actually made of 9 tracks. Let's listen to it. So it's basically a very nice and peaceful ambience. It probably takes place in the summertime during a very calm day. The first step to create this forest soundscape was to record actual forest sounds and use them as background layers. So here I used two different forest recordings that have different feels and tones and work well together to create a consistent background. In addition to that, I added a track called Wind Muffled, which is exactly what it says in the title. It's a recording of a soft wind that I muffled down by cutting the higher frequencies to add a little bit of warmth to my forest sound. It's very subtle, but I think it adds to the overall feel. To give a little more life and enhance the feeling of immersion, I went out to do some close-up recordings of branches and bushes while I would be shaking them in all sorts of ways. I used these recordings to illustrate the gusts of winds in the trees. And as you can see in my session, I played with the volume of the forest tracks to create some dynamic and simulate variations of the intensity of the wind. I added the bush sounds in different places where I inserted the peaks of wind. I think the illusion works pretty well. The final step was to add a little bit of life in this forest. Since my original recordings contained dog barkings and airplanes and so on, there were very little bird sounds and mostly too far away in the background. So I used a few bird recordings that I had previously made in other circumstances and in different places, like a friend's garden or places I went on holidays. Here you go. Let's listen to the result one more time. That's it for today. In my next videos I will show you how I recreated from scratch a forest in a storm sound effect without risking of going out in the rain and being struck by lightning. And I will also be showing you my fantasy forest atmospheres, such as the frozen forest or the Dragonland or the magical woods and so on. So stay tuned. Don't hesitate to put a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If there is anything you want me to talk about in future videos, or if you have any remarks, please write them in the comment section below. Have a nice day. Bye bye.